Do you all remember how last speech I'll ask you to raise your hand to see how many of you had parents or grandparents that told you that video games were bad for you and that you couldn't play them because they always made you not pay attention to them or get horrible grades? Well, I keep reading a lot of articles that parents, teachers, grandparents that keep telling their children and grandchildren and students that video games are bad for them, when the reality is the exact opposite. When I was in first, second, and third grade, I always had horrible trouble reading, and no one could ever help me. I have no idea why, but I didn't really get any better at reading until I started playing video games, because my TV I used didn't have any audio capabilities, so I always had to use the dialogue, so I had to read the dialogue constantly. And that after several weeks, it helped me read better, and I could track the screen better with my eyes. And the controllers helped me move my hands better, because I also had motor hand control problems. And no matter what I did other than the video games, because the teachers would always try to help me, and they'd try to force the reading through my head, but I would never get it because they couldn't relate to me. I always felt that everyone around me was just constantly pushing farther ahead, and I really couldn't stand it. I just felt that I was so far behind everyone. So after I started playing more video games and reading so much better, I decided that because the video games helped me with my eyes and my reading and my speech, actually, because on the online games I could talk to people who also kind of had the same problems as me, because I was always pretty shy too. But the video games helped me because there was no people there. I could just be myself and always know that I was myself there, but when other people were around, I couldn't communicate. So because of my experience through video games, I think that our grandparents, parents, and teachers shouldn't have these kinds of thoughts. They're so conceited because they always had their parents and grandparents and teachers tell them the same thing. The video games rot your mind and they cause childhood obesity. On a recent article by dailymail.com, a lot of people kept saying how gaming causes childhood obesity and it causes them to fail their grades in school. And this was because that they would stop paying attention to their schoolwork and they wouldn't get up and go outside with their friends. They would just stay inside with their controllers and computers. Through my life experience, I learned that even when you're behind, video games can help you. It doesn't matter what the situation would be like, because I was always so far behind everyone. Even though I was only maybe 8, 9 years old, I was kind of depressed too, because I couldn't communicate or read, and I felt like no one understood me. Because I felt like no one understood me, I was always just kind of sad, and I stayed in my corner and just listened and watched everyone else have fun. So because of all of these things, I think that gaming can actually really help people. Even through my own experiences, I know that there's been multiple cases where just even brain trauma just has been cured, not completely cured, but helped. That people can come back from long lives of paralysis. They can also help other people through depression and their inability to communicate with other people. But even though video games can be really helpful, you have to take everything into moderation. Like all of the parents, grandparents, and teachers say, they can, but if you take everything into moderation, like I always have, then it can really help you. So in conclusion, I think that gaming can really teach skills and motor control that you can't really learn sitting in a classroom. You can't learn how to communicate unless you're around people that understand you.
onto obesity, but, so do you think it doesn't, like, how does it not happen if somebody just sits on a TV screen with their bag of potato chips 5 hours a day?
Yeah,
Because I've done it before.
If you're just gonna sit and just constantly be there and just eat and eat and eat, yeah, it's gonna cause obesity because you're not doing anything other than using your hands and your eyes. But if you can like take it into moderation, like I said, like maybe an hour or two a day, go outside, have fun, you'll be okay.
Do you think that the video games helped you more with like your reading, or like if you find other skills like with the controller, like which one helped you more?
I think it kind of helped my reading a lot better than my motor skills because I was usually pretty quick with my hands anyway because I was always really athletic. But I had a horrible time reading. I had two in it, so. Jake?
Is there a certain amount of time they recommend playing video
I
games
read an
for?
article that says about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day maximum usually. Like,
Has there been any studies that say like how people always say like they rot your brain or whatever, like you said, is there anything that like proves that it is really bad for you, like if you do it too much?
there are studies that have like the connections to violence and stuff, but there's not really any conclusive data on whether they like rot your brain and cause obesity other than the fact you just sit there.
All right.